Welcome to another exciting episode of MTG Portal, and tonight we will be talking about Sydri, Galvanic Genius in the EDH deck tech format. As always, if you haven't subscribed or liked our channel, please click the link below, and let's get started. Kicking things off with Mana Ramp. Mana Ramp in this deck consists of 5 main cards: Chromatic Lantern, Gilded Lotus, Thran Dynamo, Sol Ring, and last but not least, Mana Vault. A brief description of all 5. Chromatic Lantern is a 3-drop. You may tap any land you control for any colored mana. For instance, you can tap a black to add purple. You can also tap it to add 1 of any color to your mana pool. Your Gilded Lotus is a 5-drop of any random color, and you may tap it to gain 3 of 1 set color. Thran Dynamo is a 4 colorless drop. Tap it to add 3 colorless to your mana pool. Your Sol Ring is a 1-drop to add 2 colorless, and Mana Vault comes in last as a 1-drop for 3 colorless. However, the catch is that as long as Mana Vault is tapped, it will deal 1 damage to you. You may, however, at the beginning of your upkeep, pay 4 mana to untap Mana Vault. Now don't let this deter you, because Voltaic Key is your savior. Next up, we have Board Control, consisting of 3 major cards: Domination, which is 2 colorless and 2 black, destroy all creatures on the board; Supreme Verdict, which cannot be countered, is 1 colorless, 2 white, and a blue, and destroys all creatures; and of course, Wrath of God. Moving right along to Tutors. First up on that list is Demonic Tutor. 1 colorless, 1 black. You may search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then reshuffle your library. Second tutor I'm running is Diabolic Tutor. For 2 colorless, 2 black. You may search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shuffle your library. And as an honorable mention, you can run Vampiric Tutor. Next up, we're talking about Hand Advantage. First on that list is obviously Yawgmoth's Will. You may pay 2 colorless and a black, and you may at that point, until end of your turn, play cards from your graveyard as if they were in your hand. If a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere in that turn, it gets exiled instead. Following that up with a Brilliant Ultimatum for 2 white, 3 blue, and 2 black. You will remove the top 5 cards of your library from the game. An opponent of your choosing will separate those into 2 piles. You will choose 1 pile and may pay any of those cards in that pile without paying their mana cost. Following that with a Diabolic Revelation, it is X, 3 colorless, and 2 black, so this is more of an expensive late game card. It's going to enable you to search your library for up to X cards of your choosing and put those cards directly into your hand. Then reshuffle your library. And if that's not enough, or you don't pull that, we also combo it off with an optional Sphinx's Revelation, which is X, 1 white, and 2 blue, where you will gain X life and you will draw X cards. Moving right along to Blue Board Control. We're going to start this one off with a Blatant Thievery. We got 4 colorless and 3 blue. For each opponent, you're going to gain control of target permanent that opponent controls. So whether that's an artifact, a land, an enchantment, a creature, a planeswalker, it's completely your choice. We follow that with a Rite of Replication, and this is a great combo card. If you follow a really powerful creature, Juice Still, and then free cast Rite of Replication, you know, they've got a lot to deal with at that point. You're looking at 2 colorless, 2 blue, with a kicker of 5 colorless. Put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target creature. However, if Rite of Replication was kicked, put 5 of those tokens onto the battlefield instead. Pretty powerful card. Then we combo that off with a Time Stretch. We got 8 colorless, 2 blue. Target player will take 2 extra turns after this one. I hope you target yourself. I'm not sure why you'd want to give your opponents 2 turns, so let's make sure we play that the way it's designed. Kidding, of course. Who would give their opponents 2 turns, right? And then we ended out with a Fabricate. 2 colorless and 1 blue. You may search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Reason this is under Blue Board Control is because we run creatures like Blightsteel Colossus and Memnarch, which are considered artifacts. So at that point, if you have the mana and the ramp, why not pull a big beastie out? Either start stealing your opponent's stuff, or annihilate them with 11 poison counter. Either way, board control is in your favor. Moving right along to Planeswalkers, we have Teferi, Temporal, Archmage. 4 colorless, 2 blue. To add a counter, you get to look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them in your hand, the other on the bottom of your library. Remove a counter, untap up to 4 target permanents. Remove 10 loyalty counters, and you get an emblem that you may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn, anytime you could cast an instant. That is pretty freaking crazy. And if you choose to, Teferi can be played as your commander. Next up, we do have Tezzeret, Agent of Bullis. 2 colorless, a blue and a black. Add a loyalty counter. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. The rest on the bottom of your library. Remove 1 counter, put a 5/5 artifact creature on the board. Remove 4 counters. Target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is twice the number of artifacts you control. That's just insane. Next up, we are looking at the almighty and amazing Vesna the Sojourner. 3 colorless, a white and a blue. You may exile target permanent you own. Return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of your next step. Basically, it's giving you phase, and you get to add 2 counters every time you phase. You remove a loyalty counter, and creatures you control are unblockable this turn. Remove 8 loyalty counters. You get an emblem that whenever you cast a spell, you get to exile target permanent. Then we finish it off with Tezzeret the Seeker, who is 3 colorless and 2 blue. You get to add a loyalty, untap up to 2 target artifacts you control. Remove X loyalty counters. You get to search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And for negative loyalty counters, artifacts you control become artifact creatures with base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. Moving along to enchantments. First up, we have our Phyrexian Arena. 2 black and a colorless. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may draw an additional card, but you lose 1 life. Followed by an animate dead. 1 black, 1 colorless. Gain control of target creature in any graveyard. When the enchantment leaves play, bury the creature. Next up, we move to white enchantments. Starting out with our Spirit of Heliod. It is 1 colorless, 2 white. It's a legendary enchantment artifact. Creatures you control will get +1/+1 as long as it's in play. You may tap a colorless and 2 white and destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. Next up, we have Oblivion Ring. When Oblivion Ring enters the battlefield, you will exile another target non-land permanent. When Oblivion Ring does leave the battlefield, you will return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. We're following that up with a Banishing Light, which is 2 colorless and 1 white, same casting cost as Oblivion Ring. When Banishing Light enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. Same effect applies when Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. It returns to play under its owner's control. Oh, excuse me. Next up, we're going into blue. Starting out with Aristic Study. 2 colorless and 1 blue. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may pay a card, you may draw a card, unless an opponent pays 1. We follow that up with Omniscience. 7 colorless and 3 blue. You may cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana costs. We then move right along to Mind Over Matter. 2 colorless and 4 blue. Choose and discard a card. Tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. And we finish up with a March of the Machines. That is 3 colorless and 1 blue. Each non-creature artifact is an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. And moving right along to artifacts. Our first one up is Helm of the Gods. It's a 1 colorless drop. Pay 1 to equip it of any color. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. Moving right along to Staff of Domination. It's a 3 colorless drop. You may pay 1 to untap Staff of Domination. Pay 2, tap it to gain a life. Pay 3, tap it to untap target creature. Pay 4 tap it to tap target creature, or pay 5 tap it to draw a card. You'll understand why when you look at the Infinite Combo section of why this is so powerful. Moving right along next is Darksteel Plate. So 3 colorless. To drop it, 2 to equip it. Darksteel Plate is indestructible. It also makes equipped creature indestructible as well. So wonderful addition to the deck. Moving right along to Lightning Greaves. Now with Lightning Greaves, it's 2 colorless to drop it, 0 to equip it. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. So you combo this on any creature, get it out fast, hit your opponents with it before they can react. A wonderful addition to the deck and a staple in any EDH deck. Moving right along, we have 1 colorless for a Voltaic Key. Now this goes back to Mana Vault that we spoke about earlier. You may tap 1 to untap target artifact, basically cheesing and evading having to pay 4 to untap Mana Vault. You can also use Teferi, Temporal Archmage, to re-untap your artifacts as well. So Voltaic Key has great necessity in the deck. Moving right along to Darksteel Forge. It is a 9 colorless drop, however it will make all artifacts you control indestructible. And finishing it up with a Spine of Ishah. It is a 7 colorless drop. Whenever Spine of Ishah enters the battlefield, you may destroy target permanent. So this includes anything on the board, whether it's lands, enchants, creatures, artifacts, anything that the player has out currently, you may take care of. A beautiful part of Spine of Ishah is when Spine of Ishah is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may then return Spine of Ishah to its owner's hand. So it's an infinite board wipe that never goes away. Continuing on with Icy Manipulator. 4 colorless to bring it on the board. You may tap 1 to tap target artifact, creature, or land. Moving right along to Temporal Aperture. It's a 2 colorless drop. You may pay 5 to tap it, shuffle your library, and reveal the top card. Until the end of your turn, as long as that card remains on top of your library, you may then cast it without paying its mana cost. And we end it with an Unwinding Clock. We're looking at 4 colorless. To bring it on the board, untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. Moving on to instants. First on that list is Cyclonic Rift. It's a 1 colorless, 1 blue drop for instant speed. You may return target non-land permanent that you do not control to its owner's hand. Or you can overload it for 6 colorless and 1 blue, returning all non-land permanents you do not control to their owner's hands. It's an instant board wipe. Gets everything out of the playing field, everything off the board, and enables you for at least a couple of turns to get in there and take care of business. Next up, we run Limdol's Vault. Excuse me. It is 1 blue and 1 black, instant speed. Look at the top 5 cards of your library as many times as you choose, but you have to pay 1 life for each additional time after the first. You may then put those cards in any order. If you're not satisfied, you may shuffle and put them on the bottom of your library, look at the next 5, and repeat the process. Every time you repeat this process, you will pay 1 life. Moving right along to Swords of Plowshares. It's a 1 white cost, immediately instant speed, exile target creature, however its controller will gain life equal to its power. And last but not least on that list is a Path to Exile, 1 white. You can exile target creature, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land, and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle his or her library. Moving right along to creatures. First up, we have Blightsteel Colossus. 12 colorless. Trample Infect. When Blightsteel Colossus comes on the board, he is indestructible. If Blightsteel Colossus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, you get to reveal Blightsteel Colossus and shuffle him back in your library. Next up, Iona, Shield of Emeria. 6 colorless and 3 white. Legendary creature. She is flyer and an angel. When Iona, Shield of Emeria enters the battlefield, you choose a color. Opponents cannot cast spells of the chosen color. She is 7/7. Next up is Magister Sphinx. 4 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, and a black. Flying. When Magister Sphinx enters the battlefield, target player's life total becomes 10. For 5/5 flyer, you cannot go wrong. Next up is Arkham Dagson. 3 colorless and 1 blue. Legendary creature, Human Artificer. He's a 2/2. Tap target artifact creature. Or you tap him. Target artifact creature's controller sacrifices it. That player may search his or her library for a non-creature artifact card, put it into play, then shuffle his or her library. Next up, we have Vesna Shaper Savants. 2 colorless, 2 blue. Legendary creature, human wizard. He's a 2/2 with flash. When Vesna Shaper Savant enters the battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. A prime example of this would be Obliterate. If you're playing an opponent who obliterates you, this is one of the few counters to Obliterate. Next up, we have Phyrexian Metamorph. 3 colorless and an option to sack 2 life or pay 1 mana. 1 blue mana at that. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Following that, we have Peregrine Drake. 4 colorless, 1 blue. A flyer. When Peregrine Drake enters the battlefield, untap up to 5 lands. Peregrine Drake is a 2/3. Next up, we have Musio Visionary Architect for 1 colorless and 2 blue. You may tap 3 colorless and a blue to tap Musio Visionary Architect. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the highest converted mana cost among artifacts you control. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it directly onto the battlefield. Put the rest at the bottom of your library. Musio Visionary Architect is a 1/3. Next up, we have Arcanus, the Omnipotent. 3 colorless and 3 blue. Legendary creature wizard, he's a 3/4. You may tap him to draw 3 cards. Or you may pay 2 colorless and 2 blue, and return Arcanus the Omnipotent to its owner's hand. Following that with a Memnarch. 7 colorless to bring him on the board. Legendary creature wizard, he is a 4/5. You may tap 1 colorless and 2 blue. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. 3 colorless and 1 blue, and you can gain control of target artifact. Following right along with a Jaleria, Master Polymorphist. 3 colorless and 1 blue. Legendary creature, human wizard. She is a 2/2. You may tap a colorless and a blue. If you do, tap Jaleria Master Polymorphist and sacrifice another creature. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Next up, we follow with a Sphinx of Athun. 5 colorless and 2 blue. Flying for a 5/6 Sphinx. Once Sphinx of Athun enters the battlefield, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand, the other into your graveyard. Following that with Sheoldred the Whispering One. 5 colorless, 2 black. Legendary creature, Praetor. With Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player must sacrifice a creature. Following that through with Aeromancer. 2 colorless, 2 blue. When Aeromancer enters the battlefield, it's a 1/2. Return target instant or sorcerer card from your graveyard to your hand. We follow that immediately up with Sharum the Hegemon. 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, and a black. Legendary artifact creature who is also a Sphinx for a 5/5 flyer. Once Sharum the Hegemon enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And we follow that with a Deadeye Navigator. 4 colorless and 2 blue. Soulbond. When you pair this creature with another unpaired creature, when either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them, unless you flash them out. As long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has tap 1, tap blue, exile this creature, then return it to the battlefield under its control. So, Deadeye Navigator, Peregrine Drake, you pair them for infinite mana. Deadeye Navigator and Vesna, you pair it for instant board removal. Following that, with a Master Transmuter. 3 colorless and 1 blue. Artifact creature, Human Artificer. She is a 1/2. You may tap a blue and tap Master Artificer or Transmuter. Return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. You may then put an artifact card from your hand directly onto the battlefield. And last but not least, we run a Platinum Angel. 7 colorless for a 4/4 artifact creature angel. Flying. You cannot lose the game, and your opponents cannot win the game. Moving forward with basic lands, we run 6 Bucket Islands, 5 Plains, and 5 swamps, all of which are full art, and my personal preference is, of course, foil. Moving directly into our dual lands, we have Prairie Stream, Temple of Enlightenment, Mana Confluence, City of Brass, Godless Shrine, Glacial Fortress, Isolated Chapel, Drowned Catacomb, Caves of Kolios, Hollowed Fountain, Darkslick Shores, Shambling Vent, Thespian Stage, Command Tower, Sunken Hollow, Strip Mine, Reliquary Tower, Scored Barrens, Tranquil Cove, and Dismal Blackwater. Thank you for watching Sydri Deck Tech on MTG Portal. If you like this video, please subscribe below.